Sofa Guys Movie Review. These couch potatoes come together to talk about the hottest, or shall we say promise to be the hottest movies of the month. Their opinions might not matter, but you're getting them anyway. Movie review with 5 guys that enjoy the luxuries of giving you their likes and dislikes of the movies we all want to see. So sit back and let the begin.
All right,
I might have to
guys.
go ahead and
What's up, guys?
Oh, what's up? Not
Hey.
much, you?
I'm trying to figure this out. Hold on a sec.
All right.
Feel like we're like at a drive-in. What are we doing, Ted?
All right. There we go.
There we go.
All right, what's happening, fellas?
There we go.
Not much, you?
I don't even know if the video played because I'm out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I played.
Kind of
So-
see that.
I'm at my camp right now. Where I'm doing this from my camp.
Okay.
Can you hear me or no?
Oh yeah, we can hear you for sure.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Cool. So tonight, guys, we're going to be talking about a couple movies, and the first one we're talking about is Stan and Ollie. And I don't know about you guys, but that movie was unbelievable to me. It rated a 9.3 on Rotten Tomatoes. So we'll start right out with Dom at the top here. What's your opinion of Stan and Ollie, buddy?
Well, I wore a beret because of that. Their friends bought each other berets. I never wear a beret, but I had one in the closet, and I recognized friendship in that structure. Now, that is not a movie to take a girlfriend. That movie will break your heart. It will put action back into your system to know your true structure of nature of entertainment, because entertainment is a beast and it will run right over you. And it actually made me teary-eyed tonight when I called you. I'm like, hey, shit, man, this shit actually made me cry. Why am I on for the first show? It actually made me cry. There's so much meaning in this movie. If you truly work the arts of what we do, and then have a true friendship with somebody that you want to work with in this nature of the beast. I mean, this is a nature of true friendship in the end. And just, I can't explain that in a way. Like Gerard and Cody. I mean, do you guys understand what I'm getting at with that? Like, there's so much there. There's so much emotion
absolutely.
within like family, and then friendship, and then, goddamn.
I think like when you watch the movie, if you don't immediately imagine somebody else like in your life, you're lying. You're absolutely lying immediately. Like everyone sees their best friend reflected immediately in that relationship, especially the ours, which is so turbulent. Like your relationships keep you so anchored down and grounded. So, and it was really interesting to watch 2 men that loved and hated each other still be that stability in the confines of that like partnership that they had. It was their entire structure, and it became their entire identity. So it was really cool to see that friendship. It made the eyes water quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, my friend, like, I don't know you like yet. We'll get to know each other, but like, I mean, goddamn structure along the movies, like people are trying to replace your friend, and like you personally couldn't because you're watching the eyes of the other actor, and like, there's no way that you're gonna replace my friend. Like, to the end of the movie when it got down to it. Like I'm not gonna ruin the end, but it was one of these structures where it's like you're not gonna replace the person I started this shit with. You know what I'm saying? Like it was amazing.
You know what I found surprised with a movie, and like on my end is like, you know, I wasn't a Stan and Ollie fan for Laurel and Hardy. I wasn't a fan, and so I was an Abbott and Costello guy. You know, Abbott and Costello was what I loved. So for, you know, honestly watching their movie, I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. But I didn't tear up, but I did get to see the ins and outs of a movie or of a series of movies that I just didn't realize. You know, it was two best friends who they were closer together than they were with their wives. You know, it was amazing.
Well, on top of that, Ted, like when I called you and you're like, stop calling me 17 times today, I'm like, all right, so what's the structure of the sofa guys, right? So within the structure of this movie, when I saw the filmmaking itself, you could take the timestamps of, I believe, 35 seconds it starts. At a minute and 39 seconds, you'll see a scene. And at, I believe, 5 minutes and 46 seconds, there is no edit points. That's 5:46. It's almost 6 minutes of these actors doing their real thing and the background. And then the whoever's on the, the cam, I said it earlier, the Ronin probably running with these people. Just 6 minutes of pure footage that they did solid. That's pure movie magic right there to me.
Oh, yeah.
So, but Ted was like, oh, we just.
Gerard, what's your opinion of that movie?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. Absolutely. When going into the movie, at first I thought it was just going to be about their showmanship, how they were during the movies, everything they did. Then to find out this is actually the later years and how everything is actually taking its toll, how dedicated they were to each other, the turmoil, the friendship, just everything about it. I mean, John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan did a phenomenal job, and I can't express that enough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, yes.
It takes character, and it takes character. But
sorry, guys, if you hear the cars going by.
Like when you think about it, like I talked to Tom earlier in the day. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be on this show, and and he's like, you don't know the movie. It's like, all right, it's a guy from Step Brothers, as Tom told me, and it's the guy from the Saving Rockstar Jesus or whatever it was. And I'm like, all right, so these two, like, I'm not into comedy, I'm not into it at all, but for some reason this story got my heart, man. Like this was perfection within what they made. It takes a lot to do that. It was real, man. Indeed, I love it.
I think it's ironic that for a role as a famous comedian, that's probably the most serious role I've seen John C. Reilly play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's on point. I'm telling you, if Ted didn't tell me about this movie, I would not have known nothing about it because I don't look into it. But I'll tell you what, I'll recommend it to people who actually want to see where they want to go in life. But I will not recommend this movie on a date night. You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of one of these things. So I don't know, man. It's it's absolutely.
Yeah, it's not a date night movie.
It's not.
No.
It's not a date night movie. But, guys, it's one of those movies, like if you're sitting home and you're not doing anything, it's one of those movies like, okay, I'm sitting here, I'm having a beer and, some popcorn or something or cheesies. It's one of those movies. And it's a feel-good movie. And there are some funny parts, but it was more or less their life, their story and what they had to go through back then as actors, and you don't really think about what it was like, you never get to see that side.
Ted, I want to bring up a point of that movie too, because I brought up laziness and like some of my notes that I took writing, and notes are pointless, I guess. But like when that chest went down the stairs,
oh my God, it was hilarious.
I know it's, but I didn't see that as funny. They didn't want to go back down and get that.
I did, and you know what? I knew it was coming, Dom. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I knew it was coming because it was part of their comedic thing. They did it with a piano. They did it with those chests like all the time, baggage and everything. If you watch any of their old classic movies, it was stuff like that, that happened.
I didn't watch any of the old classics, but at that point, I didn't feel like there was any comedy to it. Like they just didn't want to go back down and get that heavy chest.
Well, I think the chest is symbolic of them. It's symbolic of them. That chest is them. Is it worth going back for?
Well, see, it's
one of their original props.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I mean, like, I see 3 different point of views here.
Yeah, I like to see the emotional baggage per se that's packed in that chest.
the scene where their wives were coming in and they had to go through the vehicle?
Yes.
I loved that.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It's like, you don't think about that stuff being funny, but back then their sense of humor was different. And there wasn't swearing, there wasn't vulgarity. It was plain humor, stupid humor.
You know what scene, touched my heart too tonight? When, he was sitting in the bed and he sat in the bed next to him. He's like, I'm cold. They pulled the covers up next to like each other. It's like, that's pure friendship right there, man. Like, that's like a bond like you'll have with somebody only once in a lifetime. Like, they were there for each other. That shit made me, sorry, you didn't put a parental advisory up. Sorry, guys. But that made me on point with knowing this movie. And these guys were pure family, like straight up.
So we got about 5 minutes. So why don't we go over to Gerard and Cody? Each one of you give us an idea of how you rate this movie, and would you recommend it to your friends?
I would give this movie definitely a 9 out of 10. Hyper realistic. I got my start in performance as an improv comedy actor, so it was really realistic to the grind that was there. My only issue was pacing on a couple tiny moments, but all in all, just a fantastic movie. It's kind of hard to get a 10 from me. Would wholeheartedly recommend this to people. Watch it with your pal. Watch it when you have nothing to do. But it's not a passive movie. Make sure you're actually super engaged, and you don't want to miss it because you'll miss some of that physical comedy, that movie magic, the friendship magic that's right in front of you.
I'd have to agree. I would give it a 9 as well. I mean, just the whole movie itself. I mean, it got to me both on the fact of, thinking about friendship, thinking about family, everything that I've wanted to do. It covered so much in the movie, and they're just so well done, including the hotel scene where you finally see that it wasn't just a job for them. It was their livelihood. They did this even when they're off camera. And, I had a nice smile on that one because I've done stuff like that. Yeah. So definitely going to recommend this movie to anyone that wants to go ahead and see a really wholehearted movie.
All right, John, what about you, buddy?
I'm not going to disagree with the boys here. This is one of these things where I personally, in my heart, will never watch again because it broke my heart. But it was one of these things where you have to watch once to understand the meaning behind this movie. I would definitely recommend watching it, but I would totally agree with Gerard and Cody on this one. This is on point, a one-time watch for sure.
You give it a 9?
Yeah, absolutely.
To give you guys my opinion of the movie real quick, we got about 3 minutes. I gave it an 8. I thought the movie, it's one of those feel-good movies. It's especially friendship. Best friends, because that's what they truly were best friends. They did everything together. And even their wives didn't know what was going on, and they were keeping secrets, as in well, don't tell my wife this, don't tell my wife that, and it was all because of business. And I thought it was a feel-good movie. I thought it was an 8. I have a hard time giving anything a 9 or a 10. I mean, look at what I did for Godzilla and all that. I didn't really give them a 9 or a 10 either. But I think that as a movie goes, if you want to sit down and enjoy a movie when you're by yourself, the wife's out, the boyfriend's out, whatever may be, if you want to sit down and watch a nice flick before you go to bed, a feel-good movie, that's definitely it. So I gave it an 8. I thought it was all around a great movie. I recommend everybody to watch it. And I don't know if I would go and say that it wrenched my feelings at all. I mean, I was like, oh man, that's sweet, but that was it didn't bring me to tears, I kind of gave Dom some harassment earlier on it because he said it made him emotional, and that's cool.
It actually made me cry. It made me miss Genevieve for Monday night. It made me represent like everything I do with my shows and stuff like that. It made me, miss Genevieve and represent everything that like I do. Like I know my best friends and my family. It made me relook at everything.
Right. Yeah, but it was a great movie. But we can't spend any more time on it. We got to move on. We're going to you guys for here on Sofa Guys, we're going to start having a timer. 15 to give you our opinions as well as a rating, and then we're going to move on to the next one. So we're trying to do this each time we go. So just hang with us, and we'll do the best we can. And at the end of the show, we'll tell you what movies we're going to be reviewing next. Gerard, I'm glad you started on this one. The next one we're going with is Singular Point Godzilla first before we get into the Conjuring 3. Now, you had watched these prior to me because you were able to get them in advance. What is your feeling about this?
I do enjoy how they decided to do the storyline for an anime. They went ahead and dumbed things down a little bit, if you will, bringing creatures smaller, making it so that this entire anime could stretch out rather than just making one movie. The science that they put in
really,
there was
you think it's a dumber down on those things?
Well, think about it. Anguirus is literally normally around about 158 meters tall, if not bigger. And in the movie, the show here, he's only about 18
he was
meters.
Smaller.
Exactly. So it's almost like we're seeing the beginning evolution rather than they were already established where they knew the creatures prior to, where they're now calamities. So we're kind of seeing the beginning. With that being the case, the structure between everyone, the Jet Jaguar team, we see how he went ahead and came about, his evolution, the girl on the other side with the science, and the whole connection with it. I really enjoyed it. Well put together, well thought out and written, just definitely fun.
Cody, did you?
I lost you, Ted.
We lost him.
I loved it. I loved it visually. First off, like as an anime, first thing I'm gonna usually look at is
So Cody, did you see? So you did see it?
Yeah, I saw it. I actually watched it all like in one run 2 days ago. I had the day off, so I was like, all right, let's go. Strictly aesthetically speaking, spectacular. It was a lot to look at. It was a lot of fun to look at. I liked the whole idea of the monster world with like the flocks of the animals going on. I thought the image of everything was dope until Godzilla himself. I wasn't digging the Godzilla look necessarily. Right. And that's hard for me, right? Like I loved the little Mothras. I love the Rodans, but I even love Jet Jaguar, kind of. But I couldn't get into the look.
I got to be honest with you, Cody. Cody, I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah.
And I should have with Gerard too. I'm sorry. I did not like Jet Jaguar at all. I know it's an anime and stuff, but I kind of miss the original look of Jet Jaguar. Now, come on. I see Jared smiling, but come on. It's like, it's true.
There's
the original look of him, and you know what I mean? And the old guy that was playing like he was inside of it. Now, come on. Jet Jaguar was not like that.
No.
But I love the old man. What? Yeah. He was fun, but see, Jet Jaguar is good, and the girl, like they're a good example of what I think this anime's weakest point was, which is accessibility. When you take an intellectual property like Godzilla, something that's known as a household name, and you're going to concentrate a Netflix like top 10 anime on it, you're going to lose a ton of your fan base and the ability to move forward and do all the things you want to do when you make it too highbrow and a little not accessible for your average viewer. Like the amount of time and resource spent on like the number crunching with these like imaginary rules, that's really cool that they detail to put into a system. I think it kind of took away from the fact we want to see these giant monsters fighting. And I think someone will quickly turn that off and we can lose a lot of the capability in the future for animation style Godzilla stuff because they went this route first. Maybe like an offshoot would have been kind of cool, but I think it tried to do too much at once and it kind of dropped the ball a little bit along the way. That's kind of where I stand on it.
I kind of agree with you. I agree with you. Altogether, I agree with you. I mean, I know that Dom hasn't seen it yet, but I watched the first season of it, and I watched it right back to back, right straight through, and I was kind of disappointed, but I know it was supposed to be a fresh look, and in anime, it's supposed to be different than what we're normally seeing, and I get all that, but there was a few things there that just kind of like that look that a dog gives you when it's kind of confused and it tilts its head. That's where I was. I was kind of tilting my head, going, I don't know if I like that necessarily.
However, huge
shout
out. Huge shout out to whoever designed the aesthetic of that anime. Whoever it was that worked on was a huge Evangelion fan. To any like old school anime fans out there, if you liked Evangelion and like the imagery of it, watch this anime. You'll dig the way everything looks.
Well, real quick, I want to say hello to Tom Naily, Patricia Sanaserio, which is Dom's mother, and Shay Tara. Thank you for joining us. I can't see the other people that are on there, unfortunately, but I want to say hi to everybody, and thanks for joining us here tonight. That's cool. And I think Shay Tara is new to us, actually.
Hello, Shay.
How's it going, Shatara?
Shatara.
Oh, is it actually together, Shatara?
Yeah.
It was fun to watch you guys run with that, though. So
holy shit, that was good, Shatara. I like that now.
Yeah, and
now let me guess. Now, who is it?
Overall, I think
Thundercats, right?
I don't watch Thundercats. No.
Well, I did at first, but then I'm like, as I'm not an anime guy. First off, so. Anime for me is really tough. So, I'm going to be the first one here, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give Singular Point at this point a 6.5. I'm not going to give it any more than that.
Why?
One, because I'm not an anime guy, and I really just did not. It took like the first 2 episodes. It took me a while to get into it, and I'm not even sure if I like it, to be honest with you.
We got to do a series. If I ever am invited back, let's talk about The Boys. Amazon Prime Video. The Boys. I'm down for that one.
So let's sum this up real quick. Go right over to Gerard. Give this a rating and what you think of it.
I have to say, I give it a 7. I did enjoy it, but I can't say I loved it. I'm hoping season 2 goes ahead and clarifies a few different things and changes things up a bit that makes it a little bit closer to home that we're used to.
Right. Okay.
I give it
Cody.
I give it the 7 that tried his hardest. Just fix your Godzilla, fix some stuff, and you'll have a fan for life. Just can't get over those big hurdles, and make it a little bit more accessible. I would love to see what we could do in the scope of animation with Godzilla and monsters, but let's not ruin our chance now.
Now, real quick, because I want to bring this back real quick around. The whole transformation from being like a water creature to Godzilla, I mean, what did you guys actually think of that?
That's cool.
I thought they went ahead and used a little bit from Shin Godzilla with that idea.
You like that idea?
I thought they went ahead and executed it a little bit better, but I can't say that I absolutely love it. I'm just right in between with it. Like Cody was mentioning, the design is a little yet to be loved, but who knows? Maybe there's another evolution that comes up later on that finally cleans it down, or maybe we'll get a Heisei or a Millennium look.
I think if the momentum of it wasn't so fast, right, and so drastic, I would care more about the evolutions.
Right.
So if we spent a little bit more time on them and a little more detail, and then just kind of scaled it a little better, because we went from like fish in the water to universe breaking monster in one season, and half that season we're just thinking about a robot. So I mean, if they could slow that down, then I might care more about the evolutions, and then I could actually play with that a little more.
Good point.
I agree with that. I really do. All right, guys. So let's move on to the heavy hitter. It was supposed to be a heavy hitter, but it did not get a good rating at all. Let's get into the Conjuring 3. So you want to start this out, Cody?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm yet to see the best horror movies get the best ratings. Like, you kind of expect that bad critic review when you go into a horror movie. Conjuring 3, latest in the line of the Warren movies based off real life paranormal investigators, which I believe I have two to actually watching this right now. So hi to Daniel and Jamie. But I loved the acting in it. I thought the kids both did fantastic. I thought everyone in it was good. The setting was good. They did a really good job of portraying when it was, but it fell flat. I think the scares, they kind of overused the same formula they've been using the entire time, and it's starting to get diminishing returns in the sense that the scares are in the same place and they're not drastically different enough from previous movies to really turn the head too much. You're looking for it, and it's, even when you see it, it's still not quite satisfying. Not to say there weren't decent scenes and some cool parts of it. Shout out to whoever designed that actor's visual, like getting overwhelmed by the heat and the sound and everything. I thought that was a very, very good attention to detail scene. But again, still kind of left it lacking for me. I love the Warrens. I love the history of that stuff. I really wanted to like it, but I think they should kind of go back to what made Annabelle and the first two Conjurings really stick out, which was that they were doing things that weren't really being done in the industry at the time and not just kind of revisiting. It's kind of getting that Paranormal Activity movie series kind of baggage now at this point, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
All right, Tom, did you see it?
No, you know what? I did not see it because it was last moment today as I got into with you guys today. But I'll tell you what, I enjoy the Conjuring movies, and I do want to see this one. I'm learning from what you guys have to say. However, though, like, I understand the history with the Warrens, with the ghost hunting of what we do. All right, that'll be back in. Gerard and Cody, what I'm saying is, you guys seen this movie, and there's Ted. With the Warrens, I know people who work with them and things like that. So it's like, this is a big nature of my life. So like, I totally.
And that part's fun, right?
Okay, it seems like we lost everybody here, or just me.
Just you. We're all still going.
Sorry.
I think Cody.
Guys, are you still there?
Yeah, we're all here. Cody, what were you saying?
Oh, here they come.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, man. I was saying that
you didn't.
Absolutely, like the history of it. So seeing them try to argue in court, or like go to a lawyer and say, "Hey, we really want you to use possession in court as a defense." The history of that, the part with the Warrens, all of that was fantastic. And also the actors that play the Warrens in all of the movies just do a fantastic job of it. I liked that. The history part of that is cool, but the application of it just feels reused and rehashed.
Felt too Hollywood?
Yeah.
All right,
and well, James Wan's probably getting there at this point. He's been cranking out a bunch of hits at once, so I'm sure it's starting to slow down on him.
Well, who knows, man? I mean, everyone.
Now, did you guys see Jordan's comment?
Yeah, man asked the devil to take his body, gets surprised when the devil takes over his body. Yeah.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
So aren't they making a new Exorcist and stuff like this? Like, aren't they remaking movies like this? Why?
Yes. We'll just look at that laziness.
There's Sean. Hey, Sean.
I'm still waiting for an Exorcist movie as good as the last Exorcist, that preacher doing the fake ones. Probably the last good exorcism movie I saw. Hi, Sean.
How we doing, guys?
Welcome
Hey,
back.
Okay,
Sean.
we're bringing in Sean, you guys.
Who's Sean?
What's going on, everybody?
How you doing?
Good. No, I was hearing about stuff about The Conjuring, and I did see it too. I enjoyed it. Obviously, if you just know for what it's worth, you can kind of sit back and be entertained by it. And obviously, I know that the real source material and reading it. And I've actually had firsthand experience having to do with that case and shit following me home. So I found it, obviously fascinating too, in that approach. But I enjoyed it. I mean, if you just see for what it's worth, but I definitely see what you mean with the overhash of the stuff they do over the years with some of these stories that are based on true story, and Hollywood just takes their liberty and they go off in some huge ass tangent and start adding their own elements to the story that can kind of get lost within it. But it's still a cohesive, fun entertainment type of movie, I guess.
Well, Sean, I mean, I love the way you just said that, because like you had a real life experience, and then like Hollywood takes over and then makes their own story to it for entertainment to make money. I mean, like it's kind of one of those things. Like, I mean, how do you put that in a way without being nasty? Yeah. Like,
and then, if you guys never saw the 90s, TV for movie based on the same story with Kevin Bacon. They obviously didn't show much of the boy. Now that, obviously there's things that I wish that were in the story too, because obviously I actually was at the well. If you guys know the original Haunting episode that they based it, where demons dwell, where they would do the exorcism on David, and they would ask him where the demon went, and he'd be like, went back to the well, and they're like, what well? And it was back at the rental property, which is actually in Newtown, which is like, I guess, adjacent to Brookfield. It's been not that far. And, God rest her soul, Debbie Glatzel showed me where the house was where David had the exorcism. I went there, and I also found the house where the rental property was, and I was able to go back there and do a spirit box session right at the well. And that shit from the case followed me. It's on my YouTube for weeks afterwards, man. It still comes through, and it says the beast constantly. But I had some really nasty, creepy shit happen to me after I went there. Again, I wish that element was in there, because I always thought that was one of the creepiest episodes of a Haunting, because they were like, oh, it went back to the well, and it was like coming out of this well, and why was it associated with the well? What is it? But it is. And I'll tell you, like, I never read the book. What was it called? A Demon in Connecticut. And by the time that I went to the house the first time, and I started to have some creepy things happen, I wanted to read the book. And I'd have to say, like, I've read a bunch of paranormal books and about demonology, obviously being a demonologist like myself. Right. The descriptions, the characteristics of this kid, and discussing what these demons look like. I actually had a clairvoyant image. I never read the book. I was in front of the house where the boy was exorcised. And I saw like this big hand. It had scales on it and 3 fingers that were kind of curled and thick fingernails, like on the edge of its hand. And like when it came to me in this room here last summer, something growled at me. I saw hooves and a tail, and I wanted to read the book now, because now I'm like, now this shit's visiting me, it's coming. And I was talking to Debbie, God rest her soul, she just died tragically again, but she was telling me there was weird stuff happening in her house after I went there and stuff. I started to read the book, and one of the demons, David describes, it's got 3 fingers and hooves and a tail. And I'm like, well, that must be maybe one of the things that freaking followed me from the house. It was a pretty interesting experience. But yeah, obviously Hollywood takes their liberties in general. And
yeah, I do. I completely believe you, because like, silly. Yeah. Where's Ted? Was that Ted?
The inmates taken control.
But
all we hear
I'd like to talk to you about this afterwards too, because I am learning demonology as I go. But like as we're talking about movies and stuff, this has nothing to do with as what I'm learning. But I mean, yeah, the movies do take a touch on Hollywood over what the true nature of the beast really truly is.
It's another example too. It's a great solid movie, but my mentor in demonology is actually Ralph Sarchi, who was the inspiration for the 2014 film Deliverance from Evil. And it's a great solid movie, but like it's basically fan fiction of just taking elements out of his stories. And I really think if they would take some of these movies and really go right down to the individual, genuine, real level of some of these stories that happen, like it would resonate so much more and would be such more of a classic.
But why don't they, Sean? I mean, like, I come from a movie making world, a ghost hunting world. Why do they have to make a structure? It's money. The answer really comes down to it.
Well, it's like the same thing with Marvel and DC, in my opinion. You have people that literally are passionate about comics, that they're Marvel Comics studio. They're the people that actually write these stories. They're passionate about these characters, and they're very patient with the way that they actually set up these movies, where it took like almost a whole decade before they brought all these characters together, and we had years and years to get to know these characters on an individual level, where we're actually emotionally invested in these characters, and finally they come together as the Avengers, and like, oh my god, this is insane. Like DC, it's like, well, let's just do a Superman movie, and the next movie it's like everyone's in it, and you don't even give a fuck about any of these people.
Well, I get it.
It's garbage.
But at the same time, they're superheroes. But you take a absolute structure like Annabelle. You take an absolute structure like The Conjuring. Real stories that happen. Why do they have to put Hollywood in it without telling you the true story? Because you could easily read a book of the true story. So, like Jaws came from Jersey, right? Out of Matawan Creek.
Originally, that was the story, yeah.
Right. So they made a movie out of something that was actually scarier, that a big ass shark came out of a creek, right? So Jaws was scary on its own, but like, why do they have to like Hollywood it up when they could tell a real story and make a movie out of that shit?
For sure.
Hollywood thinks they know everything. That's that. I mean, I've been on TV for paranormal shit, and let me tell you, man, I've had some really bad experiences too. And I'm just sitting there like, people are trying to step in my lane and tell me how I do things, and they know jack shit about the paranormal, and they're just trying to make a cohesive story. They don't care. They don't give a crap of what you're doing. They don't believe in what you're probably doing. And it's just like, it's garbage. But that's Hollywood. And that's why you deal with this melding of Hollywood and the supernatural paranormal community. And you get a lot of this garbage that comes out because of that. And it just goes for any true story that would be based on something where Hollywood, comes in. But, that when you get, movies that get down a little bit more on a genuinity level, I think that's really when these stories will have longevity and stick out more in people in the audience.
I think they would have better luck if they took a technical approach.
Can you guys hear me or no?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
I can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So let me ask.
Okay. Well, my picture is.
Sorry, Ted.
Well, give me a second, Dom, because my I just want to kind of explain. My picture on my end is going in and out, so I'm just going to leave the picture off for now. So that as long as everybody can hear me, then we're good to go. So.
All right.
No, I mean, this is like what I'm getting into is like the true nature of the beast as far as like real story. All right, so you take a movie like Fire in the Sky. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, it's a great movie. I remember I haven't seen it in years.
Fire in the Sky was one of those movies that. Sorry, go ahead.
It's just a great movie. I mean, I've seen it years ago. I mean, I know it's based on true story, but I don't know the story, the real story, to really make an assessment on, from that level.
I get you. All right.
And here's the thing is, the Conjuring, first off, the Conjuring movies, we know that they're supposed to be based on truth. And I'm going to kind of go back a little bit on some of the things that Sean said too. But, in the paranormal field, I've been doing this for 36 years. It's a long time. And I know there's people on there that have been doing it longer than I have. And there's a lot of people that have been on TV doing it, which is great. I think that's phenomenal for them. But when you come down and you look at the stories, and we're talking about the Warrens, who I love to death. I got the opportunity to meet them once, and awesome people. But then again, you're hearing stories. Sure, you're getting, their stories, and you have to believe what you don't have to, but they want you to believe what has happened. I have discussed other cases with the actual people that they worked with, and we know that some of the stuff that the TV had, the movie had put in there, it wasn't real. We know that they put stuff to make you go sit at the edge of your seat. And, that's the same with everybody. I was working for Our House Media for a while. I did Paranormal Survivor. I've even been on Ghost Nation. I've done that stuff. And the problem with movie versus what's really happening, how much are they going to really generate as fact into their movies? And so you have to take most of that with a grain of salt, but it's a good movie. I mean, that's the point of it, is entertainment. And I think when it came to Conjuring 3, for me, it was a good movie, but it wasn't rated like the very first one that came out. It did better, especially on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, but it was new to us, and that's why. And when you continue a series where it's allegedly this, allegedly that, I mean, people are kind of fed up with the paranormal situation. I'm hearing that a lot right now anyways. They're sick of the movies. You have a lot of people now that are coming out and saying, hey, I this is a bunch of garbage. It's just made for TV. And some of us say that. It's true. But, if you're in the field long enough, you know that we can't prove anything. Bottom line, but we can tell you the stories and what we believe, or what the people that call us tell us and what they believe. But as a movie goes, for me, guys, just as a movie, it was good as a movie, but it wasn't great. It lacked, as far as I'm concerned.
I get it, and I want to get this right to the point. You take Annabelle, the real story of Annabelle, and you make a movie for it. That's not the real story of Annabelle. I mean, it takes away from the point of what we do as ghost hunters, or paranormal researchers. It takes away, truthfully, from the point of what we do, and it almost makes us fake, as if we're trying to get famous from the research that we actually do. I mean, am I wrong?
I actually think that
no, it's the same thing as a paramedic seeing someone do bad CPR. They start getting mad in a movie. It's the same kind of feeling.
I actually think people on YouTube that fake shit is way worse than the movies, because at least you know it's exaggerated. The people on YouTube are actually claiming it's real, and then they paint a brush for people like us who do hard work and spend 8 hours a night trying to get some sort of astounding, amazing evidence, when they're just on string everywhere, flying everywhere, and they're like, "Wow, I got a million viewers." Those people are scumbags because they make it so hard for us, and that's how we get claimed to be fake. But movies, we expect that.
So I think I have the solution to this problem, just kind of from what you guys are talking about. So we talked about Conjuring 3 being, and a lot of these paranormal movies that are coming out, being just not enough, or they're overdoing it, or Hollywood is doing the same old, same old. I think approaching it as like a technical biopic would be a really good direction for a paranormal movie. So we know that most of us that are in the field, like, we all spend so much time on evidence, review, detail. If you took like a technical movie and completely shot that almost in the nonfiction sense of all of the technical pieces of what makes up paranormal expression, and did it in that non-fiction kind of look, I think it could lend very well to taking these really famous cases and not running into the same problem. Why aren't we getting films about the science that goes into it, the actual investigating, the equipment they're using, things like that, and how it impacted what they saw? I think could turn it around entirely.
I think so too, and we tried to do that a couple years back, and trust me, I'm not like framing that one down, because I believe that's the way to go, my friend. I mean, when you actually bring the actual structure into what we do, the hours it takes, the editing, and all this type of shit, like that's the factor of a real investigation. I know the show is not about investigations, but I mean, it really, like, they don't never show that in a movie. All of a sudden, there's a haunting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I get all that, Don, but you know what? I'm gonna say that I believe about 50% of that, because to me, when I sit down, and this is just as a movie buff, just as somebody that likes movies, when I sit down and watch a movie, I want it to be entertaining first. Do I really care whether it's based on a true story? In some sense, maybe a little part of it, but what I want is to be entertained. And I think whether you put in factual things, like, when you have what was it that came out? Remember when Blair Witch came out, and the way they filmed it and the way they went along with it, it did so well because it was in a different frame. You know what I mean? It was done differently than what's ever been done before. And I think that's why it worked well for them. But as The Conjuring, all three movies, I think the first one was the best, the second one lacked, and the third one lacked, but it was entertaining. So I kind of agree with what Tom Nally was saying. It wasn't the best, but it was entertaining. And I think you could add all that other stuff, like what these gadgets are and what they do, but I don't think that that's really going to give it any more. It's not going to make it any more valid, I guess.
I have been completely wrong the entire show, because this is a movie show. Like, what makes me mad for what I watch makes somebody happy for entertainment. So I can't put my opinions in of what's, what I think, how it should have went. Somebody was happy while watching a movie. So I was wrong the entire time.
You're not wrong. It's just everyone has a different opinion.
Yeah.
And we all have the right to like.
You're wrong. I look at it as, Yeah, well, yeah. Well, look at it. Like,
It's not a
let's
ghost
just,
hunting
for
show. It's a
instance,
movie show.
Rotten Tomato comes out. Rotten Tomato comes out and gives a movie a 9, okay, or a
Mhm.
9.5, and then we watch something that they give a really high rating and we think it sucks. It's the same as some of these movies that we really like and we would give a 9, but yet Rotten Tomatoes gives it like a 5 or a 5.5. Different people like different style movies, and that's the way it's always going to be. And so
Right.
whether we like it or not, I'm hoping that what we're able to do on Sofa Guys, just give them our opinion and say, hey, go into this
Sure.
open-minded with a movie that's based on fact. We don't know what is fact, but supposedly or allegedly, I mean, the Warrens were like the most notable paranormal investigators of all times that we have, other than Hans Holzer. So, and there's a handful of them. So I won't even go on to that, but when you're taking somebody else's stories or their investigations and they make it into a movie, take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? And enjoy it. If you enjoyed it, fine. If you didn't like it, then that's fine too. But just don't. I don't know. You don't have to rip it apart so much to where
Shit.
it's like, oh,
It
it's
was a
crock of
learning lesson
shit.
for
I
me,
mean,
to be honest
I
with you. It
don't.
was
I
a
don't
learning
think it's
lesson.
that way sometimes.
I mean, that's a learning lesson.
No,
I
I get it.
agree with you. Like, you mentioned Dom, the Blair Witch Project, a minute ago. So why that worked
I didn't.
was
Ted
because
did.
of the marketing. Oh, sorry, Ted did. The marketing is what sold that movie. The idea that it was found footage. I'm with you on a movie needs to be enjoyed, right? But when you look at the Conjuring movies or Annabelle, let's look at the real reason they drew the way they did. We're not going to see a Raggedy Ann doll. We're going to see the real story of a doll that killed people. And when your major draw on marketing is the alleged true story, then why are you expecting your viewers to have so much suspension of disbelief? Is my big kind of gripe with that is like cinema as a whole.
Yeah, dude, I agree with you. And what I got to do, like the next time I'm with you guys, if I'm ever with you again, I got to separate myself from Hollywood, from the real structure of what I do, especially with subjects like this. I mean, because we could talk about Mortal Kombat all night, you know what I'm saying? But like things like this, I take to heart. And with the people I'm involved with.
It's understandable, and that's what I was saying before. It's just like, movies, I just take it for, whatever. It's nice to have elements of some of the stuff that went on, and when it happens, I get excited if of real things that happen. But I just try to take it for what it's worth and be entertained by it. But the YouTubers that fake stuff, that's the ones you really should be pissed off at. Those people.
And some movies I can't even watch anymore when they're doing stuff like this.
Fair enough.
I'm with Sean 100% because.
Yeah.
Sorry, Don, but I'm with Sean 100%. I mean, if you've been in the field long enough, you know what you're doing. You know what you're looking for. You know what you're not looking for, and what you pass over. And when you're watching these YouTube things, and I'm sorry, there's just too many things that are happening in these YouTube freaking movies. But if you look at a real investigation, if somebody was just to go out and film a real investigation on how boring it really can be, and what you don't get sometimes, and where, when something does happen, how excited you get. And Sean knows what I'm talking about, because you could spend 12 hours, 4 days, 2 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, like I have in some investigations, and you can get nothing, absolutely nothing. But yet the claims are amazing.
Well, I get it.
But you go to these YouTube series, and some of the YouTube series have got claim after claim after claim after claim after claim. It's like, where are they coming up with this stuff?
Right.
But it is what it is. But we're talking about the movie, and I think the movie, which is based on their true events, what they have, what they went through, all we can say is, well, that's cool, or I don't agree with that, or whatever. It's a movie. Let's think about the entertainment value, and let's see what what we thought about it.
I think it's nice to keep their story alive. Like whether it's like, dumbed up, dumbed down. It's nice to keep the story of what they did on the people who they were. I mean, they were the originators of ghost hunters, in my opinion. The Warrens. They were there from the start with everything they did. It's nice to have a movie for them,
Yeah, no, I agree. They were pioneers of the paranormal field.
Pioneers, my
It
friend.
wasn't even cool to be a paranormal investigator. People would
Yeah.
have to look up yellow pages to find a parapsychologist because most people would be shunned out of their neighborhood if they even spoke of their house being haunted.
Yes, sir. That's a great word, pioneer. I mean, that's an amazing word you put. I mean, it's just simple and right to the fact.
Well, he's
I mean, that's what
absolutely
it
right,
is.
though.
He is.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the stories with some of these people. I mean, even Hans Holzer, he used psychic mediums for everything. And, you know, today, when I first started out, we didn't use psychic mediums. But today, it seems like every team in the world has a psychic medium involved, you know. And look at Lorraine Warren. I mean, was she good at what she did? I would say for what we know, yeah. You know, same with Ed. They were pioneers.
Absolutely.
So you give them the credit to do with it, you know. The movie
Yeah,
itself,
they paved the way for a lot of
I love the fact that they were continuing on with the series. I thought it was an okay movie. I just wish there was certain parts of that movie that I thought would I would like to see it come out of the horror factor, to be honest with you.
I personally would love to have my hands in actually being involved with a movie that's based on something that's true, because I've had so many experiences being involved in the last 12 years that, like, if I could just literally convey this to some of the producers, like, and I actually just came out with a documentary that it's probably my proudest paranormal film project that I've done. Like, and it was just like no bullshit. They documented what happened, what we did, you know, all the evidence that, and the story that all comes together with no bullshit, no people trying to tell you what to do.
Right.
And, you know, I'm really proud of Ralph's a part of it. And it's a really true demonic case that I dealt with. And I wrote about my first book. And, but I would love to have my hands in, like, you know, in a movie and be like, look, you know, this is what really happens. This is how it happens. This is like, it'll be way scarier if you let someone actually come in and tell you some of the stuff that people have experienced, some of the most extreme scenarios of the paranormal. And I've had so much of that. And yeah, I just, obviously from you know, being an artist, being a musician too, I see things like that. I'd love to I could see so many scenes that would terrify the living shit out of people if they just actually spoke to some of us in the field and hear some of the experiences that we've gone through.
Sean, once again, find me tomorrow. I'd love to buy your book, and I would love to talk to you about some things. But yeah, find me tomorrow, man. That's true to heart. I love what you said.
Yeah, so let's go over to Gerard. Gerard, so what is your overall for this movie for Conjuring 3?
Well, it made some. For me, I did not see any of the previous movies before going into this movie, so I wanted to make sure I watched everything. And I watched everything straight from The Nun all the way up to Conjuring 3. I'd have to say it was a decent movie, but it didn't have the same feel as it did with the previous ones. It changed the formula a little, and for me, it was okay, but I think it could have you know, stepped up and done a little bit better. However, the acting in there was phenomenal. A lot of the different things that took place, from the exorcism to you know, the part where Lorraine's helping her, you know, trying to go ahead and find the missing child. A lot of those elements I loved. But overall, I'd have to say I give it a 7.
How did that movie feel when, like, in the Conjuring verse, like when you watched it, did it feel like it fit in the timeline? Did it, like, because I watched it out of it, like, did it feel right? Did it feel natural and like the organic end to that series?
In a way it did, but it kind of felt like they gave up on a little bit of the storyline, so they went ahead and decided to change it up a little bit. I mean, watching it all the way from The Nun through, everything followed pretty close together. I mean, everything sounded good, but then this one, it was just something different.
I actually have an opinion. They did a good idea, actually. What they should have done is they should have pulled like an Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. And they should have done the first movie, the entire story, all about David becoming possessed. And then the second one is the court proceedings. That would have been so stretched out. You would have been able to fit so much more of the source material that actually happened and let people really get more invested. And the stakes would be higher leading into a second movie and what's going to happen to them. Then they would have made a lot more money.
I'll agree with.
Yeah.
They should have saved Annabelle Comes Home until the end. Should have ended the series with everything in the house, like Annabelle Comes Home.
To me, the third seemed a little out of place. You know, just a little. It kind of irked me a little bit. But it was all right. I mean, but it just didn't follow where I thought it would have. I mean, they tried to bring in some of the elements from the movie's past, but it still felt a little off to me.
I think they were doing that on purpose, though. They wanted to make it more of like the movie Seven, which is cool. Like, again, it's just being entertaining. If you want it to be what it was in the previous movies, I think that it could start to piss you off. But if you just like it for what it is and where it goes, that's we can all get bothered by that stuff. But I thought it was just a fun adventure. Right. It was just had some creepy elements to it. And it didn't stop. It was cool throughout the movie, which was really good. I definitely thought the second one was a little lackluster out of the three. I definitely think the first and the third one are the best ones by far, because they weren't even really involved in that UK case.
I agree with you, John, on that.
Lightly involved in that one, but they have a lot more cases that they can do. That would be really good too. That would be really, back to the element where they're in the home and they're just trying to help the family, living with the family. I mean, that's what they did back in the day. They would sit there and they'd live in these people's homes for weeks at a time. Because the family would be so terrified, they'd be sleeping on the couch and mattress in the middle of the living room because they didn't want to sleep alone. I mean,
why did they do movies like that? Because I agree with you there. That's what I always said from the start. Like, start with what they did and like build a structure of a saga. Like, if it's an hour show or whatever it is, like show what they went through. Not a friggin' movie.
No, I love the vibe, and like, I would want a movie to be so scary. And obviously, it's still amazing to me that The Exorcist sticks up to being still, to me, one of the most
favorite. Sean Hart, my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, like, nothing has come close to that, but I have to say that Exorcism of Emily Rose, the vibe was there. It was scary, man. And the court's proceedings in that was the vibes there was just like, wow, this is like real deal. When The Conjuring, it's more of that love story, Hollywood stuff. But the Emily Rose one was really like, that was, to me, was probably the second best exorcism movie that I've ever seen, because that girl.
That movie seems a little raw to me. And I think when they're raw, they come across better.
Yes, and that girl.
I like that. Yeah, the raw material. I can't
she did such a good job of imitating Annalise, because if you listen to the recordings that she did on that movie, it was absolutely astounding.
Did Ted say the raw material? Was that Ted?
It was raw.
Yeah, Ted. Yeah, that was the shit. Yeah, that's what's great about it.
Or even like the movie The Entity from the 80s. A lot of people don't even know about that movie.
Oh my God.
It's fantastic. And
you're talking about, Sean,
from the 80s? Or
Sean, you're talking about one of the best. You're talking about one of the best movies ever. Is The Entity. It's one of the best films.
I love it.
With that type of stuff in paranormal.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the true story of the girl
the original
that went
Poltergeist now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That movie.
Yeah. If you go now, if you guys remember, if you go back to the original now I forgot what I was saying.
Entity.
Poltergeist.
Shoot, I lost it. Poltergeist, yes. If you watch that right from the beginning, when these people came in, it was the same with the Entity. They moved in. You know what I mean? They stayed right there, and they did it, and it made it raw. It made it better for you. Now, if you know your history, if you can dig some of that stuff with Duke University, they were the ones that actually helped with the Entity, the original film, or the original case, I should say. And it was one of those things that just, you ate up what was real. You ate up that stuff and you followed the story. And it was amazing to me. It was one of my favorite films.
It's scary as hell. And just the way they set it up, the vibe, and just like that music.
The music fucks me up, Sean.
It's just like pulsating, like what is just about to go down right now. And then
Sean, I like you now, man. I like you 100%. We're on the same page. We're gonna talk tomorrow.
Her like boob getting like squeezed there, and then her boyfriend gets thrown across the room. Probably one of the most intense, parts of the entire movie. It's insane.
Yeah. All right, so we got to get out of here. So we got only a couple minutes left. So we're going to hand this over to Gerard for a minute. Gerard, tell us what's coming up for next month and what movies we're reviewing.
Well, next month we were looking to do the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and we were also looking at the new Netflix series. I should say trilogy. Fear Street. It's Fear Street 94, 78, and 1666.
R.L. Stein, baby. R.L. Stein.
Goosebumps. I
I
just got
just saw the
goosebumps.
new Amazon movie with Chris Pratt, sci-fi movie. It's fantastic. It's sick.
Yeah,
The
we were
Tomorrow
talking
War.
about that one.
Yeah, Tomorrow War. It was freaking sick. It was like Alien, Predator, Independence Day, all in one.
Yeah, well, we're doing 4 movies now, guys. For each for the hour, we're gonna do 15 minutes each movie.
Well, what movies? Come on, give me them.
You got Black Widow next week too.
So you got the
Yep.
you got the
There
Tomorrow
is Black
War.
Widow coming up as well.
You got the Fear one that. So Gerard, run by those one
Fear
more time.
Street.
All 4 movies.
So, Hitman's Wife Bodyguard with Samuel L. Jackson, Selma Hayek, and Ryan Reynolds.
Mhm.
Then the Netflix trilogy that just started launching. First episode is Fear Street 1994. Followed up by next week, it'll be 78. And then I believe the week thereafter is going to be 1666.
I'll text you guys.
And then
to
Tomorrow
remind you.
War.
Like, Tomorrow War. Yep.
Really good.
And there was one more that you were mentioning last
then-
time too. I can't remember
Yeah,
what
we
the
could
fourth
either
one is
do
that you mentioned, Ted.
Shin Godzilla. It was
Yeah, we
Shin
can
Godzilla.
either
There it
do-
is. Yep, Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, we could either do Shin Godzilla or we could do the Black Widow. Because by the time we come into next month, I think Black Widow will be out.
Comes out next week.
Can we all come dressed as Black Widow?
No, no, it's not happening.
We would prefer for Black Widow actually be on the show.
So why don't we
I
skip
will
Shin
attempt that.
Godzilla? Why don't we skip Shin? Yeah, why don't we skip Shin and go right into the 4 majors right there?
Sounds good.
The
Yeah,
Netflix
Fear
series.
Street
and the other
guys
3.
don't think it's some long, like, crazy watch. It's just 3 movies. 1 movie comes out each week. Just a quick 2 hours.
Okay.
So it's a good watch.
No, we should be good. We should be good.
Definitely.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, let me see if I can get my camera to work. All right, maybe. Yeah, there we
It
go.
was super cool
So,
to
all right,
meet
guys.
everyone.
Thank you so much for.
Super cool to meet everyone.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So guys.
Sean,
Yeah.
great meeting you and everyone here. Like Gerard, Cody, thank you for letting me be here. Ted, you know I love you to death. Sean, I'm gonna hit you up tomorrow too.
Sounds good, man.
All right, so guys, we know what we're watching for next month, and we'll be able to do a review for you guys for that. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sofa Guys Movie Review. I think the movies that we watched, we all gave them a pretty good rating. I think, right? Did everybody get their rating in for Conjuring 3? Then, real quick, Gerard, you said what, a 7?
Yes.
Cody,
6.
Sean,
Yeah, I'd say about like 7, 7.5.
all right, and Dom.
I'm a balance at 0 because I didn't see it yet, but that's what's
Okay.
good.
All right, and I'm going to give it about a 6.5. So it's not a bad movie, folks. Go watch the movie, get your own opinion. You know how we are here. We just tell you what we think, and we really want you to watch the movie and come back and email us or come back and tell us in the comments what you think. Everybody good? Everybody you guys have a happy 4th, by the way.
Yeah.
Lights
you
and
as well.
fireworks.
Light some fireworks,
Thank you.
enjoy the family, go ahead and listen to some good music, and eat great food.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'm
If you
playing
get
with
a
my
chance,
band tomorrow, so I'm playing at a 4th of July celebration for a carnival tomorrow. So with the band, so we're gonna have a blast.
Awesome.
There we go.
If you want
my
a good
friend-
beer laugh, speaking of 4th of July, watch that new Netflix movie with Channing Tatum and all of them, America. It's an animated movie with taking the history of America and completely throwing it in the toilet.
Gerard's
It's a
laughing.
great
I don't know if
laugh,
that's a
and it'll
good
make
thing.
you so patriotic.
Oh, it's
It'll
a
make
good
you
thing.
feel so
It's-
patriotic, but you'll lose it.
All right. So we
Much
got a lot of
love.
movies for y'all that join us here to watch. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. Sean, it was great to see you again, buddy, as it's
Likewise,
always a
man.
pleasure. Dom, thank you so much. And Cody, welcome aboard. Pleasure
Hey.
having you here with us. And Gerard, you know how we feel, man. Keep the Godzilla stuff up. It's looking better
Hey.
and better each time I see you.
Hey Ted,
Thank you.
don't fire me. I want to come back to this one. Love you guys.
I won't
Later.
fire you.
Bye.
So, okay, guys, have
See
a
ya.
good night and a happy 4th. Everybody
night.
else have a happy 4th. And please, if you're drinking, make sure you have a driver. We need you guys here in the comment section. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Agree. Good night, everyone.